All right, welcome everyone to this Q&A. Again, I want to welcome everyone to this Q&A. Question came in, or a few questions actually came in. We'll see where it goes. First question was that they heard from a rabbi on YouTube. I always laugh because I once commented on someone's post about something on Facebook or whatever. And someone said, "Oh, what are you listening to him? He's only a rabbi on YouTube." I'm like, "Yeah, what are you listening to him for?" Right? So the question is, I heard from a rabbi on YouTube. Okay, good rabbis on YouTube. There could be bad rabbis on YouTube, right? Never know, right? Never know here. That we can't. The question was, the rabbi said you can't know something 100%. There's always some sort of doubt. Right, so therefore, it is okay to have some sort of doubt about Judaism. Now, simple answer is we don't have doubts. Right, Judaism has no doubts. There's one of the rabbis, I think, Rabbi Akiva, I think Tornus Rufus. I think that's I think one of the Romans came to Rabbi Akiva, and I could be wrong, I'm not exactly sure. I think it was Rabbi Akiva, and they asked him. They said to him, people were more religious at one time, so they knew how to quote, quote unquote, the Old Testament, the Bible, the Torah, whatever you want to call it. So he says, hey, it says in Exodus chapter 23, verse 2, go after the majority. Right? Imagine, Bible thumping Roman says to Rabbi Akiva. And he says, but it says Exodus chapter 23, verse 2, you gotta go after the majority. Right, you have to go after the majority. Yeah. So Rabbi Akiva said, "Yeah, that's what the Torah says." Problem is, when we go according to the majority, we have a doubt. For us, we have no doubts. Right? I've heard this story been said in other contexts also. Right? Judaism, we don't have doubts. We have no doubts. Now, there are things we don't understand. I would say that. There are things that, it's God's law. So, one of the things, we have to learn 80%. What the Torah says doesn't really make sense, logically. So it has to be learned. 100% it has to be learned. But there are many things, many things in the Torah can be proven. First of all, you get 20% of the Torah can be proven at least. Look at Exodus. Because we all agree. Everybody agrees the Jews were in Egypt. We have papyrus, we have other things to show that the Jews were in Egypt. So that is basically 20% of the Torah, right? The book of Exodus, right? Exodus chapter 20, verse 2. Anochi Hashem Elokecha, belief in God. Mitzvah to believe in God. How do you know I'm God? Took you out of Egypt. Yeah, Jews were in Egypt. I mean, you have a conservative rabbi making $1 million a year. Seventh day of Passover gets up about 15 years ago and says the exodus from Egypt never happened. It's kind of a problem. Why do we eat matzah? Why do we, why do we do a lot of things that we say Friday night? By Kiddush, Zecher Utzias Mitzrayim, remembering the coming out of Egypt. Well, it's a good thing it didn't happen. Why would I remember it? Most of the evening service all about coming out of Egypt. Yeah, many things correspond to coming out of Egypt. So I would say, I mentioned this last week. I mentioned, I think, by Pirkei Avos. I mentioned that if I have 20%, that I could say 100% fact that we know to be true. 20% of the truth. Yeah, I had someone tell me you can prove 99%. I still have 1% free choice. So imagine if I was playing roulette and I knew 99% of the time black 13 comes up, I'd be rich. Even though it was 70%, I'd be rich. 60%, I'd be rich. Right? So now, if I know the Torah is true, 20% can be proven. So some people say, I'd rather have half. Let's say 51% can be proven. Now, just because the other things cannot necessarily be proven or haven't been proven yet, doesn't mean it's not true. There's a lot of proof, first of all, why God exists and that there is a God. Second of all, the number of videos, why we know the Torah is true. Why there are other quote-unquote false religions. Yeah. But it is true to a point where a person can say, well, how can you know 100%? 100%. But see, if we understand what God wants from us, we understand what the Torah represents, that it is 100%. There are no doubts. There are things, we have to learn, we have to delve into. Things aren't easy. You have to remember, it's a God-given book. The God-given book, not so easy. Not so easy to understand. Right? So now the second part of the question is it okay to have some sort of doubts about Judaism? Now, what's the doubt? What's the doubt? Is the doubt, well, I'm not sure God spoke to Jewish people? Is the doubt I don't have to keep all the mitzvahs? Is there a doubt? Well, where's the doubt? There are things people have difficulty with. Why do righteous people suffer? That I hear. Right? The whole book written on it's called the Book of Job. Yeah, there are a lot of things that, you look at mixing milk and meat. It's not logical. Do I have a doubt? No. You have to keep in mind one thing. When the Torah says that God gave the 10 Commandments, that God spoke to the Jewish people, how many Jews were there? How many Jews were there? The Torah tells me 600,000 men between the ages of 20 and 60, not including women and children. How many is that? Right? How many is that all together? 2 million? 3 million? So I have a direct chain here. God spoke to the Jewish people. The Muslims, Christians both agree. They say we're not chosen anymore. All this, okay. But they agree. No other religion makes such a claim. Not only that, if it didn't happen, then how would it have been passed down in the desert? Because the kid will ask his father, hey, what happened to Mount Sinai? What do you mean? I was there and I saw it and this and that. And these things happened. Look at sabbatical years. Another good example. Sabbatical year. What does the Torah tell me? 6 years, you're going to get a double crop. You're going to get a bumper crop. What if it never happened? Wouldn't the people that were there say, hey, Moses, you said we're going to get a bumper crop. Never happened. But they were there. They saw it. They passed it down. You go on Nisan, the 15th of Nisan, anywhere in the world, what are you going to see? It's commemorating coming out of Egypt. Going to read the Haggadah. There are 3 matzahs, 4 cups of wine, cup for Elijah, bitter herbs, or herbs, depending where you're from. All over the world, not just in one place. Everyone doing the same thing, some more, some less, but everybody doing the same thing. So where's the doubt? If there was a doubt about the exodus from Egypt, why would people do it? Why would people make a Passover Seder? The majority of Jews today, at least if they're associated with the synagogue, the very least they make a Passover Seder. Could be a bad one, could be a diluted one, but they make a Passover Seder. They're like Hanukkah candles. Oh, I don't listen to the rabbis. Rabbinical. Right? So there are many things we can show. You look at keeping kosher, Leviticus chapter 10 or chapter 11. Kosher animals. How does the Torah know there's one animal that chooses cut, but there's not a split hooves or vice versa? How does the Torah know those exceptions? When Moshe Rabbeinu Dr. Doodle, he can play with the animals, right? And the Torah says all species of fish that are kosher have scales and fins. Is there any such thing as a fish that has scales that doesn't have fins? No exception. How do Moses know? You know how many types of fish there are in the world? Many people he would have had to hire to go to all the seas, all over the world, to show such a thing. These are just a couple of examples. To show, first of all, the Torah was written by God. The Torah cannot have been written by men. All you have to do is, God forbid, find one mistake. Find one mistake and the Torah goes down like a deck of cards. If there are other exceptions where the Torah says not by kosher animals, non-kosher animals. If there are other exceptions, yeah, the Moses got it wrong, God forbid, or made it up himself. So where are the doubts? Right? The question, so the first part of the question is, would I agree that Torah can't prove 100%? I don't know. There are a lot of things you can prove. A lot of things. Just because science hasn't proven it doesn't mean it's not true. Right? So we can't know something 100%. I don't know. There are people out there who say that's not true. They say that we could know 100%. But you're going to say, but you can't fathom, right? What's the crux of the issue? But if it's a God-given thing, you can't know 100%. Okay, that I would agree. Torah says you're not allowed to steal. I get that. But what's behind the reason? Could be 100 reasons, could be 1,000 reasons. The depth of Torah is unfathomable. Just because rabbis gave reasons or some reasons doesn't mean it's all the reasons. It could be, Torah is the only thing in the world. The more you learn it, the more you realize you don't know. You don't see it by math. You don't see it by science. You don't see it by anything. The person has a certain level of knowledge. Let's say they're a doctor. That doesn't change too much. There might be some innovations here or there, but they don't have to go back to school to relearn everything. Certainly not a lawyer, same thing. Torah's not like that. Torah, a person will realize the more you learn, the more you don't know. Yeah, so I would agree. To the depth that God, can we get to the depth of who God is? No. Can we understand him? No. Every fast day, they read off Torah. And off Torah says, my ways are not your ways. My thoughts are not your thoughts. How can we understand God 100%? You can't. And if the mitzvahs themselves, God says, do this, don't do that. Can I understand 100%? I would agree. I don't think that's, necessarily a bad statement here. To show that the Torah is true, that I can know 100%. That can be shown. There are ways to show it. And if science hasn't proven it, so what? If we've proven enough, just like you write a term paper, you got a thesis, you go prove it, the middle of the paper is proving it. I had to write a lot of term papers in university when I was in college. I was a history major, so, you can't leave the end result in doubt, right? This college student tells me you can prove it 99%. Torah's true, I have 1% doubt. So I asked him, how do you write term paper? He said, you take a thesis, very good. You prove it. The whole point is to prove it, okay? Now, what do you do if you leave the conclusion in doubt? Well, I'm not really sure. I got evidence this way, I got evidence that way. So you can't do that, you'll fail. Thank you very much. You got to evaluate evidence. So if I evaluate the evidence and I see beyond the shadow of a doubt, it's true. I'm going to believe it's true. 100%. I'll tell you what's 100% in this world. There are two things. Torah will be third. We'll put that at the top. What are the other two things that are guaranteed 100%? Death and taxes. Right? In that order. Those are guaranteed. But you're talking about depth of what God wants from us? No, you're right, 100%. Can a person know 100%? No. Can we understand who God is 100%? No. God's thoughts are not ours. His ways are not ours. But we have to try. That's our obligation. Right? The question is, there's some sort of doubt. Again, if I believe that God gave the Torah, that means I have to understand it to the best of my ability. So if I have to understand it to the best of my ability, I don't have any doubts. It's true. I may have some doubts. How do we learn this? How do we learn that? What's the practical law that comes out of it if there's a disagreement? I was just learning something the other day. Goes against, a lot of the rules of how we, derive Jewish law. Right? Just like threw it out the window. Right? There's a certain general rule, and that rule got overridden. It was overridden. I don't know what the word is. Overridden, overridden, whatever it is. Get overridden. Why? Because some context said like this and like that, whatever, and they threw it out. right? Not the norm. Normally we have certain rules. You have certain rules, that's how we go. You don't just throw it out, but they had reason to. A number of reasons to, but that's not the point. Right? But again, even if I have to dig and dig and dig to try and understand, that doesn't mean there's a doubt. It means I got an issue trying to understand it. That's a different issue. It's not a doubt. And even if you can't know, let's flip the script here. Even if I couldn't know 100%, let's say I could know 70%, 75%. That good enough? I would think it's good enough. Right? I don't see why that would be an issue. Right? I don't see why that would be an issue at all. That's not having a doubt. There are a lot of things, science has come up with very good, but they're scratching the surface. The plenty of things they don't know. And just because science doesn't know, it doesn't mean they won't find it eventually, whatever. Right? Give one example. I've spoken about this before. You take COVID. What did science show? Whatever a person thinks, the numbers are skewed, this, that, doesn't matter. What did science show over here? One germ made them look pretty silly. They didn't know what to do. Tried this, tried that, tried the other thing. Social distancing did work, it didn't work. Masks did, they didn't. Some places did, whatever. Totally random. Totally random. One thing for sure it did. Again, it doesn't matter, the numbers are skewed, whatever it is. What it did is it made the science community look really dumb. That's what it did. And it shows, you know what, even the experts of experts, they didn't know. They had no idea. Claimed they this, they that. It made them look really silly. So science doesn't have all the answers. Medicine doesn't have all the answers. Right? There are many times doctors will say, well, we've done everything we can. Even they know they're limited. Because what does a doctor have the ability to heal? Only on the outside. Right? I just mentioned this for a second. Right? The Torah says, the book of Exodus says, rape yape. There's a double language. Doctors have the ability to heal. Yeah, but what does that mean? Rabbis tell us only on the outside. A flesh wound. Why only on the outside? Because when a doctor goes in, carves up the body, or whatever, does an operation, let's say better, does an operation, okay. Does an operation, what happens? He'll stitch up the body. What will the doctor say? If the body heals properly, this should happen, that should happen, the other thing should happen. Or it could get an infection. If it does, we'll do this, we'll do that. But once they stitch up the body, once they stitch up the person, do they have any guarantee whatsoever what's going to happen on the inside? No. They could say, statistically, it should be like this. And if your body reacts like this, and if your body's healthy, and it, whatever, there's a lot of different factors, but they can predict. Okay? They can predict. But do they know? Do they know how the body's going to react? No. 100% they can't say. They can say 90%, they can say 85%, they can say whatever they could say. But once they stitch up that body, they can't say anything. They can't say anything. They don't know how the body's going to react. There's an expression here in Israel. The expression goes like this, that the surgery was successful, but the patient died. In other words, you could have, surgery could be good. Everything's fine. Person gets an infection. I had a friend of mine, a blessed memory, had to have lung surgery. Right? Whatever, had no choice. But he got a bonus with the lung. So the surgery was successful, but they found there was something in the lung. He got an infection. It killed him. I got a bonus. They couldn't sue the hospital. It wasn't something they could have known, in general. But yeah, surgery was successful. And they expected recovery to be like this and like this. They stitch him up. They find, got a high fever, other things going on. They found he had an infection. The lung itself had an infection that they couldn't find out before somehow. However it worked. But he was meant to die. That's bottom line. That was a decree. Yeah. But when, they thought, okay, We'll stitch them up. We'll do this. Surgery was successful. They'll do what they need to do. And we'll see where it goes. They have no control. That's the point. They have no control. That's why we say they have the ability to heal only on the outside. Who heals on the inside? God does. Yeah. Man doesn't heal. Man cannot do that. Again, he can do surgery, he can take things out, put things in, whatever. But once they seal up the person, they stitch him up, or they stitch her up, that's it. They don't have any control what's going to happen. They can say, this will happen, that'll happen, statistics, up the gazoo, whatever, fine. No guarantee. No guarantee. So we don't have doubts over here. There are times people go through difficult times, and have a lot of terrible things going on all at once. Right? It doesn't always just happen once. It's one thing. It could be like a number of things. All at once, a person can ask, why is this happening? So, we're here to toil. We go through trials and tribulations. That I can hear. That I can hear. A person has a difficult time. And ask the question, like, what's going on? I'm doing the best I can. Why am I being tossed around? So a lot of times we don't have answers for that. Could be payback for what you did 6 months ago, a month ago, 2 days ago. Could be something your soul has to go through. Whatever it is, we don't know. But could a person call, say I have doubts. God runs the world. That's a problem. That's a problem. That's a lack in emunah. That's a lack in faith and belief in God. Right. So according to this. So now the main part of the question is, you can't know things 100%. Okay, we debated that. Is it okay, therefore, to say I have some doubts about Judaism? Why are there doubts? Having doubts means there's a lack of emunah. We don't have any doubts. You go through this, you go through that. Life is so hard. You're right. Do I have doubts that God runs the world? No. Do I have any doubts God knows what's best for me? No. Do I have any doubts, the fact that you had to go through this, that, and the other thing? No. Think about it. We go through all kinds of things. It's because of what we do. Not just because we're being tested. It's what we do. Potentially. Not only if a person has doubts, because they're going through a hard time, is that normal? It's only normal if you don't have proper faith. Proper belief, right? And the person even go through a hard time, and they say, "Gamzu l'toiva, this is good. Okay, this is what God wants for me. This is for the best for me." Why? Don't know. Maybe I'll find out in 5 years. Maybe I'll find out in 10 years. Maybe I'll never find out. Yeah, but we could go down the path. God says, "No, I don't want this." Why? Again, I can't answer. If I could answer, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be world famous. Yeah, God hasn't spoken to me recently. Yeah, so I can't say. But he runs, like my Rebbe once said to me, I had all these questions, all these bus bombings, God forbid, going on in Israel. So he said, listen, I was talking about politics and this, and he said, listen, are you happy 95% of the way God runs the world? I was like, yeah, I guess so. He goes, the other 5% you won't understand it in a lifetime. He goes, your obligation is sit and learn. That's your obligation. Let God do what he needs to do. You need to do what you need to do. Right? We don't have doubts. We might go through difficult things. Yeah. 100%. But we don't have doubts. If we know how the world works, in the spiritual world and what's expected of us, we have no doubts. Doesn't mean it's easy. Yeah. Someone who has doubts, the lack of emunah, the lack of faith, the lack of belief, the lack of understanding how it works. Right? That's what I would say. Yeah, a lot of questions here. Somebody asks, do I have to wait until I'm Jewish to start buying kosher mezuzahs? So there's a whole question. Some say that put up mezuzahs, there are certain things that only Jews should do, even for a non-Jew in the process of conversion. Right? There are certain things that have a lot of holiness non-Jews shouldn't do until after conversion. One of them has to be with tefillin, and I know a lot of non-Jews have already bought tefillin. right? Men have bought tefillin. Yeah, they should not be worn until they're Jewish. They should learn how to put them on right before conversion, but they should be stacked away. They should totally be put away until right before conversion. Now, what's the reason? Because there are certain things that do not apply, not only don't apply to them, but they have such a high level of holiness, they shouldn't be touched. They shouldn't be done. I'm not saying if a non-Jew touches tefillin, it's got spiritual cooties or whatever. Not talking about that. Yeah, but it shouldn't be worn till after conversion. And a lot of people put them on before conversion. Shouldn't be done. Forbidden to be done. Yeah. So there are two things that have a tremendous amount of holiness non-Jews shouldn't do. One of them is tefillin, and the other I've seen brought down is mezuzah. Now, some will say that it's okay. They put them up, they know how to guard them, they know how to take care of them, and it shouldn't be an issue. Yeah. Others say, it's such a holy thing that shouldn't be done. So I certainly heard both sides. But I do know that, there are many that are lenient, that a person could put up mezuzahs before conversion. Tefillin, everyone agrees no. You could buy them before conversion, but wearing them, certainly not. Right? If a man wants to put on a yarmulke, right, a skull cap, right, a kippah, whatever you want to call it, they can. If a man wants to wear tzitzis, they could. They could. Some will say even if they go to synagogue, they could put on a prayer shawl. Prayer shawl doesn't have the inherent holiness or more holiness than tefillin. Tefillin's a different thing, or phylacteries, whatever you want to call them. So there's a difference of opinion. There are those that are lenient. That if a non-Jew wanted to put up mezuzahs, they could. Someone here mentions commandment of shooing away the mother bird from the nest. Yeah. Yeah. By the way, I'll just point this out. If someone says it's cruel to shoo away the mother birds, yeah, they're a heretic. Because it's a divine decree we don't understand. In other words, you have a mother bird, it's called shluach haken. Yeah, you have the mother bird hovering over the eggs, you shoo away the mother bird, and you take the eggs. Egg drop soup. You take the eggs. Right? There's only a certain amount of time that you have to do it. Sometimes it's too late, but you have to push away the mother bird and take the eggs. Right? So it's stated clearly. Someone says, God, this is cruel. They're out. They have to repent. Right? That's another thing. You're right. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense logically. You're going to say, what are these, you do it in front of the mother bird? No, that's cruel. That's why I push the mother bird away. You shoo the mother bird away from the nest. And then you take them. Yeah. If you took it right in front of her face, that'd be kind of cruel. But you're going to say, well, the mother bird comes back and there are no eggs. Isn't that cruel? It's a divine decree. Right? Eating milk and meat. You can't eat, cook a calf in his mother's milk. It's a divine decree. Things that don't make logical sense. Most of the Torah doesn't make logical sense. Guess what? We have to keep it anyway. They want, doesn't mean we don't have to try and understand. I'm not just saying it's just a leap of faith you got to believe. I'm saying if other things make sense, just because this doesn't necessarily make sense to me, doesn't mean, first of all, I don't have to keep it if I could do it. And other things. So we mentioned, right, 80% of the Torah maybe doesn't make sense. Not a question whether it makes sense or not. That's not the question. The question is, did God give the Torah to Moses? And if he did, what's my obligation? That's the question. Yeah. So this looks kind of cruel. Yeah. Maybe it does. But it's a divine decree. And if I had the opportunity, you do it. There are only two mitzvahs in the Torah that say the person is granted long life in the next world, not in this world, if you do it. One of them is honoring parents. It says explicitly you have long life. And this, shluach haken, right? Go look it up. It says you get long life. Yeah? You're shooing away the mother bird. Right? Why is that something so special to God? I don't have to understand what it is. But if you say it's cruel, that's a big problem. That is a big problem. That's like saying, I think I know better than God. That's a problem. That is a problem. What does the word Bamidbar mean? It means the desert. That the Jews were in the desert. The fourth book of the Torah is called Bamidbar, but normally translated as numbers. Why? Because a number of times it takes a census of the Jewish people, counts the Jewish people. Yeah. So, but literally it means a desert. That's where the Jews were. Right? All these things happen while they're in the desert. Why should we expect to know everything about Hashem? It's a good question. Because people think, well, if it's Torah and it's mitzvahs and it's this and it's spiritual, why should I understand it? What am I, am I dumb? What, I can't understand it? It's all about a leap of faith? No, that's for the Christian. Yeah. But why would someone expect it? Why not? If I can figure out math, why can't I figure out God? Why can't I figure out ancient wisdom? Because you can't. There are people who think, well, I disagree. And I think God, and even if God did it, God is wrong. And how could that be? And that is cruel. So God must be cruel. Yeah. People say all kinds of things they don't know anything about. But see, we live in this instantaneous generation, so everyone thinks they have to have answers. Even about the most esoteric thing. You read the beginning of the book of Genesis. People think, oh, yeah, I can understand. It's all Kabbalah. Most of it's all Kabbalah. Face value, very hard to understand. Very, very hard to understand. But they say, I should understand. Right? That's as if to say, I am God. I should be able to understand anything. Yeah, there are things beyond you. People don't want to say there are things beyond us we don't know, that we can't fathom. People think they have to understand everything. It's one thing my Rebbe rammed into my head. Is like, think before you answer. A lot of times. Not everything, has, meaning the answer is God said it. That's it. There are things we're going to say we don't know. A lot of things. That's not a cop-out. But there are things that God says to do it. We don't fathom it. It's very, further want to try and understand all this stuff. Read the book of the what's it called? The Mor Nevuchi, Guide for the Perplexed, of the Rambam. It was written in philosophical Arabic, translated in philosophical Hebrew, translated into English. So he tried to understand to the best of his ability why the mitzvahs are what they are. Why, in other words, what's behind them? Why, why we have to keep them? What they are, let's say better. Why, what's the reason behind it? Because a lot of people going off from secular philosophy. So he felt he needed to do this. That book's not in vogue today. Why not? Very simple reason, because most people, just do things because of desire. It's nothing to do with philosophy. It's nothing to do with philosophy. Yeah. But people think they should know. Their opinion is just as valid as Moses' opinion. Why not? There are people who say it. Moses did this, he made a mistake. Abraham did this. Oh, come on. He's going to sacrifice his son. A lot of literature written on this. How he failed. How Isaac failed the test. How Abraham, God forbid, failed the test. Oh, they were medieval. They were ancient. They didn't. We have no idea who these people are. None. But people say, I think this, I think that, and they don't know anything. Why? They want to make people look bad. So, oh, come on, he did this. He's going to sacrifice his son. And all, Abraham's called the father of all nations. Yeah. Muslims come from Abraham. See, if they have that same genealogy to Yishmael, whether they can prove it or not, whatever, it doesn't matter. Yeah, he's the father of all nations. Now, you want to say he's a crackpot? God forbid. He's going to sacrifice his son and other things. What he did? From him came absolute monotheism. From him, for better or for worse, you had Yishmael. And that most of the world today. That's most of the world today. They're going to say, wow, what bad planning. So the world's all messed up because of that. Come on. People don't think into these things. They just talk. They have what we call diarrhea of the mouth. They talk, but they're very passionate. They're very passionate about things they don't know anything about. So, why do they think they have to know about God and they can answer for him, why he does this and that? Because they want to give answers. They want to think they have the ability, make fun of it, and say, oh, come on, you right believe. Look at how, I've had people rant a lot. Look how vengeful God is. Look at all the wars he created. Look at this, forget about God, forget about religion, and all this. But yeah, that's a very superficial way of looking at things, unless you see what's really behind and what's going on, and if we have to serve him and he's the ultimate king, can't there be repercussions for what we do? Sure. Can there be serious repercussions? 100%. But to think that they know better, there are people out there. They'll say, oh, that doesn't resonate with me. Yeah, if I gave you 10 answers, you could say all those answers don't resonate. But why would they say such a thing? Why would they intimate something like that? Very simple. Very simple, because they want to say, I don't have to keep it because to me it doesn't make sense. Yeah. The future Messiah, according to the Christians, even according to the Jews. Future Messiah has to come from Davidic line. Where does David come from? Right? Who's his great-great-grandmother is Ruth. Where did Ruth come from? Moab. Everyone agrees she's a Moabite. Very good. Where did Moab come from? Where do the people of Moab come from? Who they descend from? Lot and his daughters, incest. Boy, future Messiah came from incest. That makes sense? You got the story of Tamar and Yehuda. And she dressed up like a harlot. Yehuda wouldn't give his younger son, and all that. She gets pregnant. He's going to kill her. And she doesn't embarrass him. And through these two children comes kingship. And Yaakov gives a blessing to Yehuda and says the scepter will never leave, scepter of kingship will never leave Yehuda. That makes sense? That makes logical sense. Also a problem. Kingship for all generations. And even for the future Messiah. Yeah, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, we have to understand it. We have to try and understand it to the best of our ability. But we're not God. We are not God over here. So the way it points out, very good. Why should they, why should people think they know better? Because they want to knock them off. They want to say, come on, you really believe this? You really think God would want a person to push away a poor bird and take the eggs? You really think, a good benevolent God would want to do something like that? Would want you to do that? That's cruel. The Gemara says on the spot, no. That's a divine decree. You say it's cruel, you're out. Unless you repent. It's a divine decree, like anything else. So it's a divine decree. It's a divine decree. We have to try and understand it. Yeah. Doesn't mean we're going to understand it 100%. Because you have to remember, it's a God-given book. Someone asked, isn't it true that non-Jews don't believe in God get a death penalty? Even the non-Jew lives in the jungle of Africa without internet. Do non-Jews have to believe in God? Yes. 100%. They have to believe in God. Can't be an atheist. Because there's so much in the world that shows, like Abraham came to recognize God at the age of 3 or the age of 40, through a world of design. They don't necessarily have to believe that, God runs the world, divine providence. That I would think they should believe in. They don't have an obligation to, per se. But believe in God 100%. They have to believe. They have to believe. Doesn't matter where they grew up. So what? And, they could have grown up in China waving Mao's flag and all that. Could have been brought up and brainwashed in communist Russia, right? Or previous communist Russia or whatever. Yeah? God gave everyone a brain? You think God wants millions of people worshiping cows in India? I don't think so. So what's going to be with them? They're in trouble. They're going to say, but why'd you go out there and try and teach them? I have to teach people not to worship a cow. How do people get caught up in that? They get brainwashed. That's not my problem. God gave everyone a brain. No matter where they grew up, how primitive they may be, and this and that. There are certain things universal. Like there's a God. That's universal. They think the cow's a God. What can I do? They're not using their brain for the right thing. But if someone wants the truth, we mentioned many times, God will help them. If they want to go on the right path, God will help them. If they want to go on the wrong path, God doesn't stop them. So you want to have millions of people worshiping cows. Okay. They're all going to liable for death penalty. Right? They're all going to be wiped out. Okay. It's sad. After 20 years, they could have this whole discussion with God and say, hey, why'd you do this? God says, I didn't do anything. He says, you believe the worship of cows. Yeah, but, that was the history of my family. Grandparents, great-grandparents, they all believed in this. God says, I gave you a brain. I showed you certain things. You blew it off. You didn't think it was true. You thought this was true. Okay. You made a mistake. You made a serious mistake. Could a person read the Torah and make serious mistakes? Sure. Right? God says to his heavenly court, let's go down and see what's going on in Sodom. Who's the we? Talking to his heavenly court. I person can say it's more than one God. Can make a mistake. Polytheism, right? Polytheism, big problem in Judaism. It's called idolatry. God is absolute. First of the principles of the Rambam, of the 13 principles of faith. But someone can make a mistake. Rashi says you're right. Rashi on the spot says a person can make a mistake. Okay. Does God want you to make the mistake? No. And if you made the mistake, it's your fault. What do you mean? I misinterpreted. Thank you very much. You misinterpreted. What do you want from me? That's what he's saying. Not my fault. I gave you a brain. I didn't tell you to misinterpret it. You hang out with the wrong people. You listen to the wrong people. Wrong interpretations. I didn't tell you to do that. You're liable. You're totally liable. Don't think people live in, Africa or whatever can't find things out. They find things out. The world is not that big anymore. People can find out one way or another. If they want to. They don't want to. It's their choice. Someone asked, can a priest marry a woman widowed from her second husband? She was divorced first in the second marriage and he died. Now, once she's divorced, she can't marry him. Right? As far as I understand, doesn't matter what happens afterwards. Even if she married someone else and she's now considered a widow. She's now considered a widow. The fact she got divorced, right? That would disqualify her from marrying a Kohen. Right? The assumption is once it's been done, it doesn't matter what her latter status is. In other words, if her latter status is that she's a widow, a widow can marry a Kohen. Very good. Very good. Problem was she had the status of being divorced before. So that's a problem. That would be forbidden. That would be forbidden. Don't imagine it's coming out of Christianity. Yeah, many people have a crisis of faith. Yeah, I get it. That makes sense. And everything they learned, they have to relearn. Okay, that is true. That is true. But once they come to Torah mitzvahs, the point is once they get to that point and they relearn, doesn't mean they can't ask questions. And sometimes the answer is going to be because God said so. That's it. At that point, you're not going to have doubts. You might not have understanding, clarity. Yeah, doubts we shouldn't have. But it's how can I say it? It's a humbling experience. It's a humbling experience having learned, maybe you learned a lot and then found out you learned it all the wrong way. Then you have to eat a lot of humble pie and start from scratch. 100%, you got to start from scratch. That's hard. So now when you come on to the stories and what's going on and different halachas and different laws and all kinds of things, questions you can ask. That's not a problem. That's not a problem. The problem is how you ask the question. I can't believe the rabbis would say this. And I can't believe they would, not about what you think. They're greater than you'll ever be in 20 lifetimes. 20 lifetimes they're greater. And they have the right to interpret. As the Torah says, Deuteronomy chapter 17. Yeah. So you can ask the question, why'd they say like this? You can ask it. Do we really hold like this? Or is this really what they meant? Or, is there a difference of opinion? You can ask the question. You have to have humility asking the question. Yeah. I've seen enough people over the years. Yeah, I understand where the question's coming from. It's frustration, could be anger, because they're having a difficult time, whatever it is. You have to show a little bit of humility. I understand there are questions that are burning. Okay. Questions in Judaism, we love. We want questions. But don't think you know more, more than you do. You have to know your place, the Mission Pirkei Avos says. You have to know your place. That's why, I always find it, ironic, sometimes funny, sometimes, not so funny, but, people are very passionate about things they don't know anything about. They don't know anything about. I'll give one example. Comes up a lot about this whole thing, which is now pretty much on the back burner, with all these protests going on here, about what's going on with the judicial system. The left agrees the judicial system has to be changed. Everybody agrees. They just don't want the right to go so far. And now they got the religious parties. They're going to force this, force that, force the other thing. They made this whole big upheaval. But they agree. I'm not going to speak about politics, but they also agree. You cannot appoint judges from the judges themselves. That's called cronyism. That's called corruption. Not only that, they come and strike down any law that, the Knesset brings up. They have a right to do that. They're totally overstepping their bounds. Imagine every law Congress came up with, Supreme Court knocks it off. They knock off the Supreme Court. When you have such a thing. Yeah. So people are very passionate. Oh, it's about, it's about democracy. People want to march and their flags and this is about democracy. You have any idea? You have any idea what's going on? What the left has done? Most people don't realize, and they should. This government that came in won with more than 2 million votes. You know what that means? 2 million votes. And they set up a government. So what are they crying about? Making protests. Making civil war. In this country. What are they really protesting about? Are they really afraid? They agree? They even agree they need change. But you have people in power. Legally. Well, winning by more than 2 million votes, that means the vast majority of the people pick them with their party, these other parties. And they were able to put it together. What are you complaining about? If this was the other way around, I'm just going to say, if this was the right wing and they were making protests, they'd be beating people silly. What happened when Rabin was prime minister? When the right wing was making them look bad. He beating them silly. Yeah, caused havoc. They didn't care. Right? It's about what we say, what we do, this, that. It's not about talking to each other. But if the tide was turned the other way, the right wing was making protests and whatever, and yeah, it would be a heck of a lot worse. Heck of a lot worse. So why do I bring that up? Because a lot of people very passionate. Oh, BB this and this and whatever. People are very passionate. Yeah, but they don't have a clue. They don't have a clue what's going on. What are they really afraid of? What are they really afraid that? They have a mandate. They have a mandate. More than 2 million votes. They won with. Right? They got a huge mandate here. What are they complaining about? Say the opposition can this and that. But I hear it a lot from different sides. Oh, there's got to be, there got to be moderates. The right wing's not moderates, and I hate the right wing. But again, cronyism's okay. It's the most corrupt institution in this country. Most corrupt. They have a right. What did they have a right here? They lost. Bring the country to civil war. Yeah. We're not going to talk about politics here. Anyway, that'd be my, so for non-Jews coming out, even Jews returning to Judaism. Yeah. So you're right. There's a trust issue. How do I know what's true, this and that? But again, you have to see the bigger picture. And once you see the bigger picture, understand how this works, how that works, how the other thing works, you don't have any questions. It's just now it's detailed. Some things are harder to fathom than others. Okay. But you know what? So many things we're not going to understand anyway, but I have to do it. I have to keep it. One thing comes out about prayer. People have difficulty with prayer. Well, I have to keep saying the same prayers over and over again and this and that. Why can't I say my own prayers? You can. Yeah. But there's fixed prayer for a reason. Prayer needs to be strengthened. Always needs to be strengthened. Okay? Something we have to work on. But it's not because, we're not into it, so it's a problem, let's change it. No. We have to work on it. But again, you're talking about who wrote up the prayers of a lot of the prophets. Prophets. You know what a prophet is? God spoke to them and they knew it was prophecy. So if God spoke to them and said, write down these prayers and tell the Jewish people they have to say it and fix it into a prayer book and this and that, you don't argue with prophets. I mean, some people might, but you don't argue with prophets. That's what we do. I tell people more into it, less into it. Okay, that's a lack in us, not a lack in the system. So it points out Bamidbar is the name for numbers. Yeah, but that's not what the word means. The word Bamidbar means the desert. That's what it means. Right? That's what it means. It means the desert. All these things that happen, Korach, spies, and this and that, they're in the desert, right, for 40 years. But why is it translated as numbers? Because of the censuses that are taken. Right? There were a number of censuses that were taken. The Jewish people were counted. That's why it's called numbers. What's it? I just told you. What does it mean? I said they're in the desert. All these things happen. They're in the desert. Right? They were in the wilderness. How do I get over the fear of praying? I don't know. I don't know why there should be a fear. There's a lot of things that you try and concentrate on, this and that. But it's a golden opportunity to speak out all the things that you need. And that God, it's a strengthening experience. I'm not going to say it's easy. It's strengthening. Why do I say it's strengthening? It's strengthening for one very simple reason, because we're declaring God runs the world. God's in charge. Yeah, look at all the miracles that God does. Look how much I owe God. Yeah. So it'll put you on a certain level. You're praising God for everything he does. I don't know why it's a fear in saying that. But then when it comes to Shemona Esrei, first of all, you say the Shema. When you say the Shema, you're saying God runs the world. God is unique in the world. Take on the yoke of heaven and the yoke of mitzvahs. There's reward and punishment. True. And then I come to the Shemona Esrei, silent meditation. Ask my spiritual needs, my physical needs. It's a huge opportunity. It shouldn't be anything to be afraid of. Right? It's a golden opportunity to ask for all our needs, for health, for livelihood, for spiritual redemption. I don't see why there should be any fear. Yeah. So he said, I should be in trepidation. Yeah, we should be. That's true. However, we are. We come in front of God to pray. That, yeah, you're right. We are in trepidation to a certain extent. But, we have to understand it's like coming to a father, coming to a parent asking for needs. Now, if you had a bad relationship, I just heard someone speak about this, that basically your relationship with God is going to depend on how your relationship with your parents were. And if your relationship with your parents were bad, that's, you get chastised too much and this and that, your relationship with God is going to be equally as bad. Yeah, that's why it's such an obligation for parents to educate their kids properly, and draw them close so they can see that that's what God wants from us. It's for us to draw close to him. Someone asked, people coming out of idolatry, how come it's harder for pastors and preachers to see the errors of their beliefs? What do you mean? They're getting paid. You get some of these people making good money. Someone once told me, said, on Sundays when they have these evangelicals on TV, I don't know if it's still on TV or not, but he said all you have to do is turn off the sound. They look exactly like used car salesmen. No offense, anyone's a used car salesman, out there, right? You think they want to give up their beliefs? They don't want to give up their beliefs. They don't want to give up their beliefs. They want to give in to all their desires and other things. for any number of reasons. They're not in it for truth. If they'd be in it for truth, it'd be a different issue. They know it's a whole bunch of baloney. 100%. And a lot of these people are getting paid very well. You know, a lot of these people are getting paid very well. So you're going to throw everything out? Unless you're a real thinker. But they aren't real thinkers. And they're doing all kinds of terrible things behind everyone's back and this and that. You have plenty of people making billions. I'm in the wrong profession. I'm telling you, I remember after Shabbos when I was in the States, walked by a dog place. I was like, I should have been a dog psychologist. Talk to anyone, probably a dog also. Could have made millions being a great dog psychologist. Oh well, wrong profession. Yeah, people like fantasy. I don't know, they hold on to it for dear life. Not because they believe in it for sure, right? A whole bunch of perks, different things. Yeah, it's all about desire and things they're doing behind closed doors and, you know, kickbacks and money. How many of these people really live in poverty? Not too many. I don't think too many, right? The bigger you are, the more you're making. Just put out the plate. Come on, let's go. Let's build. All you have to do is be charismatic. Charismatic, you'll be okay. Unless you tell the truth. If you tell the truth and you're charismatic, not gonna help. Right? Not gonna help. Yeah, it's a joke. You know, it's a joke. But you have to be somebody who wants absolute truth. Because when you see Rabbi Singer demolish someone, you're right. You're right. So you threw it all out. But that's the last resort for a lot of people to look at Rabbi Singer's thing. You know, and Rabbi Skolbeck. Why? Because if they don't believe in JC, they're going to find out forever. So they want to believe in it. They want to hold by it and whatever. But there are other things. There is what to be said for, idolatry is just a precursor for immorality. That's what it is. You don't think plenty of things going behind closed doors, what these people are doing? I have any doubts. Any doubts. Priests, we all know what they're doing. We all know what they're doing. Scandal after scandal after scandal. Yeah. You think pastors are squeaky clean? I don't think so. A lot of them as crooked as can be. But why? A lot of perks. A lot of truth. Come on. Got to believe. Got to have faith. Pay me another $150. Pay me $1,000. I'll help you work on it more. That's what it's about. Because they're not interested. Not interested in truth. Totally not interested in truth. Is it true the Yetzer Hara gives down? Yeah, what do you think gives down? What else would you think gives down? Yeah. Yetzer Hara wants a person to do the wrong thing, 100%. Yetzer Hara causes doubts. We can do it to ourselves also. But yeah, a lot of it comes from the evil inclination. Definitely true. Why Jews were divided into tribes? Good question. Toots. I don't know, what's the reason? I don't know, God set it up that they're going to be in certain tribes to conquer the land. Yeah, where they're going to settle, what they're going to do. It's a direct command by God. Yeah. And they stem from Jacob. And each one became their own tribes, so to speak. Why? I don't know. I don't have a good answer. And what that should be. One second. I don't know. Can Yetzer Hara talk to me in my head and give me bad thoughts? Absolutely. Yetzer Hara can do a lot of things. Cause us to do things we never even thought we would. Yeah, that's why you always got to be on guard against evil inclination. Whatever happens, the person's supposed to be happy and serve Hashem joyfully, right? We say every day. We say every day we should serve to God with great joy. So when we cry, grieve. No, grieving is okay. Somebody dies, that's it. That's the process. You grieve. Right? Not say, well, this is what God wanted. I'm supposed to be happy. No. There's a time to grieve. Right? King Solomon says, time to be happy, time to be sad. Right? Time to love, time to hate. Grieving is a normal process. Someone loses a loved one, they're obligated to mourn for, or they hear about a tragedy. Yeah, we can be sad. There are times you're sad, there are times you're happy. Does God want you to overly grieve? No. Does he want you to be overly sad? No. But one thing for sure, when things happen sort of out of the ordinary to test, can't look at things as just like it's a chance happening over here. So we're not saying, when something bad happens, we should be singing and dancing. No. There are times to grieve. There are times to be sad. 3 weeks coming up, another month and a half. After 17th of Tammuz and the 9 days destruction of the temple, we're not supposed to be happy. 100%. Person should do things that make them happy either. Per se. Why is it supposed to be sad? Talking about destruction of the temple. Something we can't imagine what it was when we had the temple. Yeah. So it's a mourning time. We don't get married. We don't listen to music with instruments during the 9 days. We don't eat meat. We don't wash clothing, right? These are things we don't do when it comes to Avelis, when it comes to mourning. And we're mourning the single greatest tragedy in the history of Jewish people. So you're not supposed to be happy, right? There are times you're supposed to be sad. But other times, we shouldn't be walking around so glum. You can tell me this happened, that happened. Okay, we have a lack of emunah b'tachon. We don't know how to look at the world. We don't know how to have an equilibrium and living life the way it should. We don't. Because we get bogged down by life. That's what God wants. But everything's a test. You're right. And some tests are very hard. You're right. Let's be happy every day. But when I'm supposed to be sad, I'm allowed to be sad. I'm allowed to grieve. Well, I hear a sad story. I could cry. Yeah, it's not forbidden. If I hear a sad story, I should laugh. I should be happy. Why? Right? There are times to be happy, times to be sad. I'm going to address Hashem in spontaneous prayer. You can address him any way you want. You can address him as Hashem, God of mercy. Address him as Hashem Elohim, God of judgment. Kel Shakai, God of power. And you address him any way you want. There's no limit here. Right? But, if a person wanted to, they go to the synagogue any time of the day. If it would be open the ark, and just look at the Torah and just let it rip, so to speak. Yeah, that's okay. Allowed to pour out our hearts. Doesn't matter what name we use. Right? You want to invoke God's mercy, that's for sure. Right? To use the name Hashem. But you can use other names also. Definitely use other names also. Listen, the person wants to say personal prayers, you can say all day long. That's not a problem. But there is an obligation to fix prayer. Certainly for women, at least twice a day. For men, 3 times a day. That you don't get around. Even if you want to go out to nature and commune with nature, once a week, once a month, every other day, whatever it is, good. But there's always fixed prayer. You have to have fixed prayer also. But yeah, spontaneous prayer. You can use any name you want. Is it sacrilegious? No. Definitely not sacrilegious. Someone asks, anger is tantamount to idolatry. Okay. God's not going to listen to him when he's angry, right? Yeah, anger is a different thing. Anger is a different thing. I'm talking about being sad. Being sad and angry are not the same thing. A person can be sad because they're sad, they miss their loved one, but they're not they're not taking vengeance and saying, God, why'd you do this and this and that, and getting, flipping out and this and that. They could also, it's part of the grieving process. Especially if something happens, God forbid, it's a tragedy. Yeah. But getting angry is tantamount to idolatry. Very true. Very, very true. One of the worst character traits a person can have. We all have anger at some level. We have to harness it. We have to, I shouldn't say harness it. We have to, get rid of it the best of our ability. Because it's also lack of faith. Why getting angry? It's what God wanted. Yeah. Heard that someone recently, first accident, someone was texting, smashed right in the car. Or whatever, they're recovering, this, that. But what's our reaction should be? What are you getting angry for? It's what God wanted, when it causes you damage. That's what the Chovos HaLevavos says in Shar B'tochon. Gate of faith and belief. I know who's holding there. Yeah, but that's the mentality. Angry? You just ruined my car. My car. Now, I'm in the hospital. Now I got other issues. Okay, the car will be taken care of. Eventually, you're going to get better. Chovos HaLevavos said you go up to the person and hug them, thank them for giving you this opportunity. That's, that's a very high level. Chovos HaLevavos says that's our obligation for everybody. Okay, he's talking at a very high level here for our generation. Yeah, but that's only because we don't see things the way we should. That's the problem. We just, knee-jerk reaction. Yeah, someone does that, you're gonna scream at the person, smack them upside the head, this and that. Cause you damage, cause you pain, all this. They're gonna have to pay. Okay, they're liable for damages. True. They were negligent. True. Could have been a lot worse. 100% true. 100% true. Yeah. But God wanted to hit you. And he used this person as a messenger. Yeah, so that's hard. That's hard. Because what's our first reaction? You're yelling and screaming. Why'd you do this? You saw at the corner of your eye, they had their phone in their face. And this ran right into you. Yeah. Nothing you could do. You're stopped. This person, I think, was stopped. Person ran right into them. Right into them. It's tragic. They're okay and whatever, but it's tragic. So why did it happen? God hit them in the pocket. Or hit them in the body also. Caused damage. Why? I can't answer. But this person was a messenger. This person was a messenger. God, God has a lot of messengers. Okay. Yeah, we don't know why, per se. Could be for any number of reasons. Spoke about before. It doesn't matter. But that should be our reaction. Imagine this person didn't have a scratch. Just the car was damaged, but they're okay. A little bit shaken up, but they're okay. And they run over to the person, give them a hug, and say, just, I really want to, absolutely murder you. And you probably deserve it, but okay, I'll let you get off this time. Yeah, and I want to thank you for working on my anger. I don't know so many people holding by that, but that's what the Chovos HaLevavos says. That's our obligation. Because we have to see the world in a certain way. We have to understand God's the one in charge. Right? He'll make something happen around you if that doesn't wake you up. Right? What will he do? He'll hit you in the pocket. If that doesn't work, that doesn't wake you up to repent, what's God going to do? Hit you right in the body. That's the way it works. We don't want to get hit in the body. We don't want to get hit in the pocket. But if we don't learn the lesson, that's what happened. So the question is how we view the world. It's like we always say. If you view the world in the right place, you have no questions. You're going to say, I probably deserve worse. I'm lucky I only got this. Yeah. But we don't look at it that way. You're not going to have a car now. You're in pain. You can't work. A lot of things. A lot of things now have gone wrong overnight. A lot of nasty things. You don't know what today's going to bring. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. King Solomon says in Proverbs, got to be thankful for every second we have. But we have to know how to look at the world. Right? As we always say, if you know how to look at the world, okay, I'm not saying this wouldn't bother you per se, it would bother you a lot less. You'd look at the good. Wow, it could have been a lot worse. I could have been here, I could have been this. I remember I had to get the tire changed or whatever somewhere. Got my tire changed, the car wouldn't start. Trying this, trying that, trying the other thing. Car wouldn't start. So right next door, this tire place happened to be a place that, has batteries, whatever. Someone came over and checked. Oh, your battery went. I'm like, great, 2 for 1. I had to get a new battery, and get this tire fixed, but what was the silver line? I could have been anywhere. I could have been anywhere, and then that went. So yeah, isn't it better? It happened in a place where right next door. I didn't have to go anywhere. It happened right next door. Okay. I was supposed to get hit in the pocket. I got hit in the pocket there. Yeah, but I wasn't inconvenienced. I was right there. Is everyone going to look at it that way? No. But that's the way you should look at it. Even if you got hit. But look at the Hashgacha Pratis. Look at divine providence. Could have been on any road. Stop somewhere. Then you go to start the car. Come on. What happened? Why is it not going to start overnight? Come on. What happened? So that was mercy. It was judgment, 100%. But there's mercy. God says, fine, I'm going to hit you over here, but I'm going to hit you right in the place you need to get it fixed. What are the odds? Probably very slim. Right? For me, I would have probably been stuck somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and that's when it happened. But God says, no, I'm not going to do that. You probably deserve it, but I'm not going to do that. I'll do it in a place where you're right next door. Okay? It was inconvenient, true. But you know what? Saved a lot of time. All I had to do is get a new battery. You don't know when a battery's going to die. What's the length of a battery? 2 years, 3 years maximum. Right? And I got a big car, so who knows? Who knows? But that was mercy. Now, is everyone going to look at it that way? No. You'd be upset. It won't start. Or what's going to be? And this, and it cost me money. Okay. But what's the proper outlook? It's something for you to think about. Think into. And then at the end of the day, you say, wow, I just want to thank you. Right? God, I want to thank you for making it happen this way. Because it could have happened 10 times worse. Who knows where it could have been? I suppress the Yetzer Hara. Anybody can suppress the Yetzer Hara. Yeah. So, the Torah says God created the evil inclination. He created an antidote. What's the antidote? What's the antidote? Torah. Torah's the antidote. Non-Jew can also learn Torah. Right? Can also learn what applies to them and overcome their evil inclination. Anybody can, but it's hard. It's very hard. You need heavenly help also. You need to pray that God help you with your evil inclination as well. But we all have a golden opportunity, to try and do that. We don't want to test it. We never want to tempt the evil inclination, no question. 100%. But same time, He gave us a way to overcome it. You can learn Torah, say the Shema, right? You say the Shema, think about reward and punishment, God's uniqueness in the world. Think about, drag it to a study hall, learn Torah, or think about the day of your death. Right? Those can help a person. But again, you have to work on it. You have to see what's behind, what's making my evil inclination, go off over here and do this and do that. Right? The lack in us, for whatever reason. But yeah, there are ways to fight it, and a non-Jew can fight it also. No question. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to stop here. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Israel Time. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com, or on YouTube, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism. I have a lot of videos there, Torah portion of the week, Pirkei Avos, Ethics for Our Fathers, Q&As, controversial issues. Anyone, and if you want to email me, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBIChaimCoffman@gmail.com, whichever good. Beginning of the day, middle of the day, or end of the day, depending on where you are.